Hello there. Welcome back to Tales from Tosche Station. Episode 4 of the Acolyte. Done. Dusted. Pretty good. I think it was pretty good, actually. I think it was pretty damn good. Um, Personally, so far, my favorite episode of the 4 so far. Um, One hell of a cliffhanger. Yeah. Why do we say we get into it, guys? Yeah, people? Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Hey, Chewie, do me a favor. Punch this thing. Let's get into it. All right. Well, let's get started. We open on Kofar as we see Kilnaka walking back to his shelter, which I think looks like a crash shuttle. Might be the shuttle that he stranded himself on. And throughout the cabin of the down ship, we see a lot of the same symbols of the coven on his walls, almost like he's trying to draw them out of his memory, which I think has a lot of significance. Whatever happens to Konaka, either in the next episode or episode 6, whenever we get that episode, it's really going to affect him because I think what happens is he not only feels remorse over what he does to Torben, but just overall, he feels remorse over what happens to him, and I've got a feeling to know what it is. I won't say it. Um, I mean, if you've watched the trailers, it's you can piece it together. I think he's the one that causes all the damage. But that's all I'm going to say about that. And then the next thing that we see is we see Coruscant. We go back to Coruscant as we see Jeki and the other Padawans being trained by a master. Well, the master's name I don't think is his name is referenced in this episode, and it's just kind of a formal class that basically the uh, the master is telling them to basically shore up their defenses and not to leave any openings, which I find. I mean, that just seems like usual Jedi training to me. Um, and then after the training, Jeki sees Osha standing outside the training room, and she says they say goodbye to one another. There seems to be some chemistry building there. At least that's how I took it. I feel like they're trying to build something there. And hey, if they're gonna do that, I mean, whatever. That's fine. I guess that's cool. But I, I think I just think that's interesting. As we uh, as we then see May and Chimere land on Kofar, and we get this really interesting back and forth between them as Chimera essentially says that having May back or having Osha back really changes things, and that just starting to change in May. He's starting to see some changes, which I find very, very interesting. That Chimera can see stuff like that in May, which I'll get to in just a minute. So, they have a interesting back and forth later on in the episode. I'm going to go ahead and say it now. Chimera has a interesting line where he says the master collects people. And the way I took it is that he has multiple different acolytes, multiple different apprentices, shall we say. And the only Sith that we know to have done that in this current line, throughout the Bane line, is Tenebris, Plagueis' master. I'm going to go on record here and say that the master, not this guy, but the master of this apprentice that we're seeing, is Tenebris. I think that's who the head Sith is right now. And I think that's interesting. That we get that line, but I'll cover that again here in just a few minutes. Then we cut back to Coruscant as we see Master Vernestra holding a small council meeting about May's attack, as we see the weekly controversy. Womp womp womp. Let's sound the alarms, because Disney's killing Star Wars, everybody. Don't know if you heard, but Disney's killing Star Wars. But I digress. We see a young brunette Ki-Adi-Mundi. And my goodness, is everyone having a fuss about this? If only there was a way we could get this figured out. People, I'm going to look directly in the camera for this. Listen, everybody. Mundi's birth date isn't set in canon. In Legends, yes, he has one, but he doesn't have one in canon. He's got one in Legends. He doesn't have one in canon. So if they want to rewrite him in, make him younger, that's all fine and dandy. Now I'm going to come back, relax, get off my soapbox. So I think having him in there makes a lot of sense, given the line that we hear from him when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon go back to the council. The whole, well, the Sith have been gone for a millennia, because the interesting part about this small council meeting is that him and everybody else in this room say that this isn't a Sith. This is a rogue Jedi. This is a Splinter Cell. She's not trained by a Sith. This has got to be a Jedi. Even Vernestra says that she knows when someone's been trained by a Jedi. She can tell, because she's a master and she knows so much. Well, guys, I hate to break it to you, but she was trained by a Sith. So, yeah, there's that. But let's keep going. Sol then, after this meeting, Sol convinces Vernestra to allow him to essentially use May as bait. Use Osha as bait to catch May. As we then hear the line that I said earlier between May and Chimera, as they're having a discussion of how she's supposed to kill Kelnaka without a weapon. He says that the master collects people, which again, I think is tenebrous. It just makes sense. He would be active at this time. He would be alive. So yeah, things are. I think the master is tenebrous. That's my official. That's my official prediction for the who the master is. Who this apprentice is, we'll see. But we'll get to him in just a minute. So we see Osha leaving. Osha leaving Coruscant as Soul comes out of nowhere, convinces her to stops her, convinces her to go with them. She goes rather reluctantly, I would imagine, or she says, "Okay, fine, I'm gonna go, but I'm not gonna put the robes on. I'm not gonna put the civilian robes on." And then we see her in the civilian robes. So, yeah. And on the ship, we see. Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. I didn't count them. I just know we have a lot of Jedi here. I want to say it's like 8 or 9 Jedi to go get May. Like they actually have a decent force here to go get her. As yeah, we see about 8 Jedi on the ship, and I'm not feeling good about it. But I'll get to that in a minute. Soul fills Kilnaka through the jungle as Yord gives a piece of Kilnaka's clothing to Basil, the beaver humanoid creature thing that they've got to use to track to track Kilnaka as as they as they head out. Osha has a back and forth with Yord, essentially telling him, "Hey, if Soul can't do this because of the way he feels about May, if he can't kill her, I'm gonna need you to do it." As we then see as Jackie and Osha have a back and forth about the encounter they just had with these uh like overgrown space leeches. I think they're I'm not really sure what they're called, but they reminded me of the creatures from Jedi Fallen Order, the ones that you fight on Kashyyyk, I believe. And Osha and Jackie have a back and forth, basically saying that it's Jackie says that it's an honor to see someone or something join the living force, and that and she says that Osha's seen more death than most people, and that we then see May break away from Chimera, and this is where things get interesting. Chimeras strung up in a trap that May put out, and essentially she says that uh, I'm going to turn myself over to the Jedi. Having Osha back really does change things. They're not going to kill me once I tell them everything I know and who I know. And then we see Chimera get pretty deadpan and say if you do this, he's going to kill you. This is probably one of the worst ideas you ever had. As she takes off towards Kilnaka's cabin, she trips into some kind of bush, some bushes with like fungi type flowers that are spraying stuff as she's right in front of Basil, and he uh, lets everybody know what is what's going on, and that he's found May, and that she's going for the cabin. As she goes in there, she finds Kalnaka dead. sliced in the chest by a fresh lightsaber wound that just happened, fresh. As she realizes that things have gotten dire, that her master is there, and as soon as she figures it out, the sun goes down, which I thought was a very nice tonal shift. As the Jedi surround the house to get May to come out, Soul senses the master. He senses it. Turns around because Yord told Osha to stay behind them. And this is the creepiest damn thing I have seen in a movie since probably the It movies came out a couple of years ago. This thing, whatever he is, floats down out of the trees, lands directly behind Osha, and Osha looks freaking terrified. Man walks up to her. I thought Osha was about to get stabbed and yeeted into the tree line. But no, he ignites his saber, yeets her into the tree line. And as this is happening, Jackie and Yord tell him to stand down. As admittedly, they both look like they're terrified, like they're looking at a demon. Which, I mean, have you seen that dude's masks? Have you seen that dude's mask? Kind of looks like a demon. So yeah. So Master floats down, throws Osha into the forest. As the Master ignites his saber, the Jedi ignite theirs, charge him, and he does a force repulse, pushing them all back, and the episode cuts to black. It's one hell of a bounce back, Acolyte. I'll give it to you. After last week and all the Discord that people were talking about online, and just, you know, cancel Star Wars this, cancel Star Wars that, Disney's killing Star Wars, yada yada yada. They bounced back. They bounced back. They really did. I personally think that anyone not named Yord, Soul, Jackie, or Osha are pretty much dead here. So if you're not a main character, you're gonna get got. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if Jackie dies next week, or like someone that we care about gets killed to show this guy's an actual threat. Not only does he take down like 5 or 6 Jedi, he also takes out one of the main characters. I think that'll happen. So yeah. Overall, like I said, it's my favorite episode. I thought it was really, really good. I thought the pacing worked very well in this episode. And I remember when my wife and I were watching it, when I saw who was all on that ship when we first saw them, I said out loud, "Oh, I think I know how this episode's gonna end." And my wife hadn't seen any of the trailers, so she didn't know what I was talking about. And as soon as I saw what was happening, I was like, "It's gonna end with the force push," and of course it did. So, I think one of two things is gonna happen next week. Either A, we get the episode that Leslie Headland has been hyping up since before this show started. We get the duel that's gonna outdo the duel of the fates. And this episode's gonna have everyone talking. So I think it's either A, we're gonna get a huge battle episode, and things go south really quickly. Or very good possibility I think they do this because it's what they did for episode 3. I think we're either going to get a big battle episode or we're going to get another flashback episode. But I don't. I would say I would say they're probably going to give us what we want here. If they do a flashback episode, it's going to kill all the momentum that they've got, so all the goodwill. So I think next week we're gonna get a giant battle episode. Most of those Jedi are gonna get killed unless you're not a main character. And yeah, Acolyte. Now you have my attention. What are you gonna do with it? You've got my attention. You've got everybody's attention. Next week better pay off. That's all I'm saying. But until next week, guys, and the force be with you.